Welcome back to Find Your First Unseen Love. In part 2 of our conversation with Dr. Roksana, we dive deeper into one of the most challenging chapters of her life, the brain tumor diagnosis that abruptly ended the career she had worked so hard to build. But what followed was a powerful journey of rediscovery, resilience, and transformation. Dr. Roksana shares how losing one version of herself made space for a new one to emerge, reminding us that what feels like an ending can often be the beginning of something even greater. This is a conversation about finding strength in uncertainty and embracing the idea that sometimes death is not the end. That's where you derive your own sense of comfort. Nobody is going to come and tell you, oh, Dr. Roksana, you're doing a wonderful job. But you have to be your biggest cheerleader. And I think your story really puts and carves that out beautifully, that we have to challenge the narrative that we are sold with for centuries, especially with women.
Yes, and I think that the other thing, like we can go through health crisis of many different types. And I think, again, I can talk about my own experience. After I had a brain tumor operation, I thought, I was somebody who was at that time writing one book every year, and then suddenly in a week, I couldn't read and write. So
I just want to latch on to that, and I'm just wondering if you are willing to share about this. How was the experience like? Like someone who's been in academia, who's flourishing, right? And one of the renowned personalities and very, you've been doing a phenomenal job. All of a sudden, when you see something that you was dear to your heart, and when you see there is a complete break, what is the mental state like, and what got you back? And you have risen so gracefully, and I'm just wondering, we as women, we are impacted by just one shitty comment. Somebody's like, oh, you're not doing good. We are down in the dumps. How could this person say this to me? What's your message for especially when women are dealing with daily life challenges and when something like this comes up? How would you put this out?
I always think of something that's worse that happens to people. That's my go-to. Okay, at least I didn't die, that's what I said. But there was this thing that I didn't like, that in this yellow psychology, that you brought it on yourself.
I think this very terminology can be used across so many domains, with violence, with domestic abuse.
Yes.
You are the one who is the harbinger of bad luck, or even the widows. You're the ones, and because of which that happened. Oh, 100%.
Yes.
I couldn't have agreed
And
more.
I mean, at that point, you're so low that you participate in everything that brings you down. So that was one of the things that was very difficult. But then I looked back and I said, look, you did something that you thought you wouldn't be able to do. And I think it's just so true. We live through, we go through very dark nights of the soul, and we get through it somehow.
Yeah.
There's some magical power, only if we think about it.
Very true. Very true.
And I think the thing that's about my operation with brain tumor was that, I was being again delusional.
As they say.
No, this one was delusional. This was delusional.
Okay.
I thought I was going to set up this NGO in Baluchistan, and this was going to be sold outside of Iran,
Right.
and money would be brought to women there. While I was on this nationwide project to improve women's employment. So I thought, oh, that's what I can do. And I think at that point my body said, no, you can't.
Right.
So I got tuned into that, and then it was a very dark place to
be in.
out. But then I said, okay, you couldn't you couldn't do that. But now maybe you can do, not that way. Maybe you could do it another way.
Right.
So, and I'm very much, I regard myself as a Sufi, and I listen to the philosophy of Shams Tabrizi and Maulana, which I think here you know him as Rumi. Maulana has a beautiful verse who says, if you want to reborn, you have to die first.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's my death for the rebirth.
Beautiful,
so
beautifully said.
Out of that fire, I came to, I was slowly able to gain, and now I'm writing fiction, autofiction.
Honestly, so beautifully you've mentioned how this entire scenario played out. And I know we're drifting away from the topic, which is more about gratitude, resilience, and manifestation. But I really want to point this out. When we talk about death, people feel scared. They're like, ooh, death is a very dark, gloomy topic. But you just mentioned, for anything, like a rebirth, death doesn't have to be physical, right? Death is in so many aspects, right? Exactly. EGO factor, that's something, I just love talking about it. So how do we, as women, especially, in our stage, in our generation, how do we see that death? And what's the ideal way, or what's the, not even ideal, but what is one way where we can start this journey of, okay, embracing that sort of death of my superficial shades of myself, and how can I embrace the very beautiful soul that resides in me? Rather than, being trained by the world, okay, this is what you have to accomplish, and this is how you should be looking, and this is how you should talk, and this is how you should fit in the society. How do we bring a death to all those willingly, intentionally? Dr. Roksana's journey reminds us that some endings are actually new beginnings. Her journey led her to discover a deeper sense of purpose, strength, and self. But in part 3, we take this conversation even further and explore the death of the ego itself. What happens when we let go of the identities we've built and embrace who we truly are? We'll see you in part 3.